Hi class. So as you get ready to, you're in the process of probably designing your final project, and you've already done your logo and you've done your digital image. I want to go over a few basics about layout. You're going to be creating a poster or a flyer of some sort of a one pager in Photoshop. So I'm going to go over a few basics here, some of the things that you need. So on here, my screen now, you're looking at the logo I designed for my company, Running Trails. It's a running company, and I'm going to promote an event. So you want to figure out what are you going to promote? Are you going to promote the company? Is it going to be an event? Is it going to be a product or a service? And figure out, what's the real goal of this flyer. So you definitely want to start, as we mentioned the last time, looking through something like Pinterest or other resources to find out some good ideas of flyers or posters. And you see a lot of these good examples, we'll talk about is hierarchy. So you don't want to fill up your page with just everything that you want to say. You want to have something that's more important, less important. So you definitely want to just establish what do you want to do, what do you want to say, and what's the hierarchy. What do you want the viewer to see first? A lot of these are good examples, the image and the text. You can see which one first. This image is probably the first thing you look at, and the text is secondary, and then the body copy is tertiary. So you don't want to fill up the page with everything being the same size. Otherwise, you just kind of lose the viewer. So these are a lot of good examples. So when you start to figure out what you want to do, first certainly start with a sketch. So here I have my sketch. So I'm going to be focusing on an event. So some of the things that you need for a poster or flyer is you definitely need an image. You have your logo image, and then some other image in the back that you would have designed in Project 3. We're using the logo again small, and I have my headline, which is going to be run your PR today, personal record today. And then the call to action, which is very important. This right here is probably the most important thing. What do you want the viewer to actually do? In your case, it might be, join an event, join my association, join my organization, buy here. So whatever, it has to be an action word. So in my case, sign up today is an action. You always want to get the viewer to do what you want them to do, which is my case is sign up for the race. So here I can just, as a sketch, I'll just have lines of copy that will pertain to why they should run the PR today. Some maybe the date information in there, maybe the where the course is going to be held, and how much is it going to cost for that event. As I mentioned, my smaller logo in the corner, and at the bottom, some kind of URL or some contact information on that flyer, so somebody can actually sign up. Otherwise, they wouldn't know where to sign up or how to contact you. So you should definitely have figure out what size it's going to be. In my case, mine's going to be 8.5 by 11, a little bit bigger. You have a headline, you have your logo or image. You can use more than one image, but certainly if you use another image, source that image as to where you got it from. Your call to action, your body copy, your kind of smaller logo, or your end logo, and definitely some contact information or URL. So one of the easiest ways to do once you've built your logo, now my logo was built in Photoshop too, so you see all my different layers on here. What I want to do is I want to save this as, I'll save it as logo 2, because what I want to do is really want to go and flatten this into one image. So I'm saving it as logo 2 first, and then I'm going to flatten the layers or merge layers because I want the background to be transparent. So I'll just have one layer, and I'm going to save it as a TIFF file, so I can easily bring it into the next project. So I'll just save that as a TIFF. That's 2 layers, that's okay. I can delete this last layer if I want. I'll save that. So here's my TIFF file. You notice the background is still transparent. And now I can go and start my, I'll just make my 8.5 by 11, which is, a pretty standard size. I'll make it 300. So when you set up, Photoshop only does single page documents. I would suggest using CMYK because a flyer is something that's going to be printed. So I'll leave it as CMYK. I may want to choose to make the background transparent. So I'll delete the background. So I'll save my flyer in a folder. I'll save it as a PSD file in Project 4. and then I'm able to go get my logo, and I can drag that logo into the fly.psd by just simply clicking and just with the selection tool dragging it over. Um, so I'll save that. Now I'm going to be using this logo twice, so I'm going to copy this layer. So I'm going to name my layer logo, and I'm going to click on the Option key and drag and copy that layer, and then I'll name this logo small. So make sure I always name a layer as something that you'll be able to remember. And then I'm going to use the transform tool to transform the second logo smaller. That's going to be the logo that's going to be in the corner of my layout. And notice I'll be going back and forth between my sketch over here. So it's important to do a sketch. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to necessarily be exact final replica of what you sketched, but certainly something that's close to give you a starting point. Okay, so then I have, so I'll put my headline in. So my headline is going to be run your PR today. So I could draw my text box. Run. Now what's important to remember is that you don't want to use too many colors in your designs. And to change the leading, you can hold on the Option key and arrows, and then you can move the leading down, which is the space in between each line. So here's my my text. I'm going to move it up above the logo. You want to kind of keep your color scheme sort of in tune with each other and harmonize, and don't use like lots and lots of colors. Maybe 3 or 4 or 5 colors maybe, but certainly your fonts. You don't want to necessarily use more than 3 fonts. So certainly your headline could be one, your body copy, and the end URL information. You don't want to use like 4 or 5 fonts. Make sure the fonts are readable. Make sure somebody can see it from a good distance. So definitely, try to keep that hierarchy. So right now, if I left it like this, I wouldn't leave it like this. But if I did, these two are clashing. So I have, running trails is really large, and running a PR today is really large. And on my sketch, I kind of had the headline a lot bigger. So what I want to probably do is a Shift Option on the Mac, and oops, I'll undo that. Go back in my history and enlarge my font, maybe 150, 160. And I'm going to make it italic because I want to kind of get that feeling that it's moving a little bit. So I'm going to change that to bold oblique. Well, let's leave it as oblique. And I'll make the font size a little smaller. And I'll probably make this image or the logo a little bit smaller. I'll scale that down a tad, just so I get the hierarchy of what I want somebody to read first. Okay, and then I'll move my text layer around. Okay, still think my logo is too large, so I can scale that down a little bit. And I see the benefit of bringing it in as a TIFF file, because now you don't have to worry about all the layers because you're set the way it is. Okay, I'm going to save that. And then, I'm going to tackle the next area, which is the sign up. So maybe I'll use a rounded rectangle tool with the shape tool on. And then I will go and I will have, bring this around a little bit. If I could, I showed in an earlier video, I showed you can click the Control key over an image and it'll select that image. That way you don't have to go clicking into the layers all the time. So I have my rounded rectangle, and I'm going to create another text layer above that, and it's going to say sign up today. And I'm going to, so by holding down the Shift Command key with the left arrow, I can quickly reduce the text. I don't want that to be italic, so I'll change that to, bold condensed maybe. I'm using Trade Gothic font. So I want a font that's readable. And I want one that's that I can, somebody from a distance can see very easily. They're passing really quickly. They can kind of get it. They don't have to really focus too much. So I have my layers. I have my sign up, and I have my rectangle. Kind of close right now. So I'm going to select both layers and then kind of bring it down. Now this layout is very centered. You don't have to always center your layouts. You can certainly play with images, in different configurations and move them around. But just to kind of give you an idea of the hierarchy and what you're kind of looking at. So then I'll tackle my body copy, which will be down in this corner right here. So here, this is probably going to be something like 12 point is a pretty good size, and I want that to be left justified. And I'm just going to put in information like the venue, time. I think my leading is really so. Command T or Control T. My leading is very deep, so I'm going to make that a little bit closer. So I have a time, a venue, a date, a price, and some other information about the race that's going to entice somebody to, actually sign up. Because the goal is trying to get people to sign up. Some information is that. Got some spelling errors in here. I'll fix that. Okay. I don't want to have any, hyphenation in there. So you can certainly add more, a lot more information into yours. But again, with my hierarchy, I don't want it to have too much information because I want people to be able to focus on the race. This box might be a little bit large. So I might do is, go back to my layers panel, select both layers, and then use the scale tool together. And you can bring both of them down at the same time to save time. Because maybe it's a little bit large, for that. And maybe for a flyer, I might want this to be a little bit bigger. So right now it's about 12 point. So I'm gonna make that maybe 14. I wouldn't go more than like 14 point. But as a flyer, and the option key with the down arrow will increase your leading for you. Really, another shortcut. You certainly can move things around after you've done your layout if you don't feel like it's adequate. So I'm going to save that, and then finally I'll do my URL, which is www.runningtrails.com, all one word. And I want that to be a little bit bigger, just because somebody might be passing and just see the sign and want to know what it's about. And on my layout I have sort of a bar at the bottom with sort of a triangle. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to have, use my rectangle tool here. And this is very monotone as regards the color scheme. But I want you to certainly try to experiment with some more color. So when things are overlapping like this, I can quickly select it by holding down the control key. In this case, my rectangle needs to be behind the URL, and I can quickly go like that, move it down, and I had a little bit of an arrow in there, so I'm going to then hold down the pen tool because I want somebody to see this arrow and kind of focus on it. And I want the fill to be that blue color. Like that. And I certainly can make the shape, a color overlay like this and select to get that perfect blue color that's already there. So there you have it. That's one way to sort of create your start creating your flyer. Save that. Make sure and save this as a JPEG and as a PSD file. I certainly can do a lot more with the background. I didn't design a background, but in my layout I had when people are running and stuff going on in the background. So I will work on that to give this background a little bit more contrast. And certainly if I exported this to web just so I can see it, I can see this file